Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. We've been playing Burden of Command a long time. I've been playing Burden of Command a long time. So long that Victoria 3 updated and I didn't even notice. Anyway, that's all going to change today as we get into our new run, as we've discussed on the community page. And if you didn't see that, check the community page once in a while. Fun stuff happens. We are playing as China. Great Qing, Qing China, however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to need to look up a lot of pronunciation guides because there are a lot of provinces whose names I am going to make an absolute butchery of when we get started here. But that will come as it comes. Let's get started with figuring out where we are in 1836 as China. We have a vast territory. We have a massive population. We have a huge economy. We have the largest economy and the largest population in the world. So this should be a walk in the park. This will be an easy run. We'll do whatever we want. Anyway, all jokes aside, we have Joseon as our puppet. That is Korea, for those of you who are more used to modern mapping. We have Tibet as our subject, our vassal. And we have Lanfang as our tributary. Joseon is our tributary. Let's see how they feel about us. Just as long as we're chilling. Joseon is fine. What can we do to help them? We could raise subject payments. We can grant them their own market. We can knowledge share. I'm not going to knowledge share. We can give them states. Okay. I don't want to... How much are they paying us? How much are we getting from Joseon right now? Quite a bit. I'm going to leave their payments where they are. Ditto with Lanfang. Tibet is a vassal instead, so I can do other things. I am going to reduce subject payments for Tibet, and I'm going to reduce subject payments for Lanfang. This is going to barely impact our economy. I know it looks like I'm cutting into my surplus, but I'm not really in any ways that matter. So let's get going on here. That's where we are diplomatically. We don't have a lot of friends around here. We have the Shogunate of Japan, our long-term enemies, though not necessarily in the modern era. We have the British Raj. We do not want them to fight. We have Dai Nam, who we've been trying to take over for, I think, 1,000 years. A lot of countries down here we've been intermittently influencing. We have the Philippines, who, despite sharing a color with us, is not part of our empire. And then we have the Russians to the north of us. We're going to try to expand this way, probably, eventually. Our plan is to leave them in the dust militarily. And then, of course, there are the European great powers. Great Britain, France, to a lesser extent, Spain, Austria, Prussia, and the United States. I think where I'm going to start is by declaring a safe rivalry. Who can I rival without creating a problem for myself? I can rival Japan. Japan is a good person to rival. Historically accurate. I can rival Siam to get myself a little bit of extra prestige, a little bit of extra influence. They're a good rivalry target. I can actually rival Nepal, which is fine. I'm happy to have a little bit of extra influence at a cost of functionally nothing. Let's start with that for now, and we'll devote some influence to improving relations with all these European powers. Oh, interesting. France we don't share a thing with. We'll need to declare an interest. We've used all our interests. We have interests in Japan and Southeast Asia and Bengal. I don't feel a need to have an interest in Bengal. I will declare an interest in Europe. Rhineland. That's going to give us the ability to improve relations with probably a bunch of these here countries. I can already improve relations with Spain because they're in my zone. And what about United States? Can't do that yet. It's a work in progress. Let's take a look at tech next. And the goal is, I could improve relations with Russia. Relations with Russia are currently cordial. I could try to keep them that way. I think that's probably the right call. Relations with Joseon are as good as they can get. Tibet is rebellious, so I'll improve relations with them. Lanfang is rebellious, or Lanfang is relations could be better, so I'll improve relations with them. And that'll leave me with some influence to play with. In order to expand my number of interests available, I need to increase the size of my fleets. We will be doing that eventually. Fleets are not exactly a value add for China at this period in history. We've also got a lot of armies that don't have sufficient leadership. This is actually kind of reasonable for China because of the number of because of the vastness of the territory and the number of fronts we could potentially have threatened. So I'm not necessarily going to consolidate armies. I may change up the naming scheme, but we'll see. In any case, we are short on bureaucracy, and it's going to take us a little bit more bureaucracy to get these armies ready to go, because every general costs a little bit of bureaucracy. I'm not necessarily going to worry about that right now immediately, because let's take a look at tech. For production tech, we are a little bit behind the times. We've fallen a little bit. The Europeans have tried to outrun us and been, in many ways, successful for now. But as we build universities and become more efficient and form a government which governs more, in the words of Bill Wirtz, we will accomplish a large step forward in tech spread, which will allow us to get a lot of passive innovation going. We also have a special tech over here called sericulture. This provides a silk plantation throughput bonus, which makes our silk plantations produce more silk, which is very important. Over in society, we're very far behind on the left side in the urbanization tree. We don't yet have banking. We don't yet have currency standards. We don't yet have stock exchange. So it's going to be tough. We don't need colonization. Currency standards is something we definitely need. That'll let us get up to per capita taxation, which is something I really, really want to have as soon as I can, but survival priorities are what they are. On the right side, we are similarly very far behind. We do not have romanticism. We do not have empiricism. We do not have medical degrees or mass communication. However, it's the military side that we're going to need to actively focus on. Over here, we're lacking in mandatory service, line infantry, and Napoleonic warfare. These are survival technologies. This is where we're going to start. After that, we're going to go to General Staff, and that will allow us to have a functioning army. And that's a good tech. So basically what this is going to do is mandatory service is not going to be that useful for us by itself, but it provides some conscriptable battalions, it unlocks the National Militia Army model, and it unlocks enlistment efforts. National Militia might be useful. We'll see about that. Line infantry, though, unlocks line infantry and dragoons and cuirassiers. These are almost the modern types of infantry. Line infantry will put us head and shoulders above most of the other people in our region, which combined with our size will allow us to kind of do whatever we want, assuming the European powers don't get involved. Once we're at Napoleonic warfare, that gives us mobile artillery. We do have artillery, and that unlocks the cannon artillery unit. So we're not as far behind on that as we could be, but it's still pretty rough. Getting lancers and mobile artillery will be another big upgrade, and then getting us up to parity with the Europeans is going to be skirmish infantry. So that's what we're going to focus on technologically in the early part of the game. Now, let's take a quick look at our economy. We are, as I said, the biggest economy in the world. We have 16 levels of textile mills, 40 levels of furniture manufactories, 50 levels of glassworks, 4 levels of tooling workshops, 58 levels of paper mills, a couple levels each of shipyards, 4 levels of arms industries, an absolute shit ton of wheat and rice farms, some livestock ranches, some iron mines, bunch of dye plantations, bunch of opium plantations, a huge number of tea plantations, and some banana and silk plantations as well. Things are looking good. We got a lot of government admin. And we're using a standardized filing system already because we're so smart and good at stuff. And this is true, I think. I think this is historical. I think China was using a standardized filing system like way earlier than anyone else, historically speaking, because China is, in many ways, throughout the vast swath of human history, is a huge innovator in things like technical organization. Right now, I'm going to swap over to secular administration. That is going to... I don't know how this number works out to reduce balance, but plus money, but it's going to cost less paper, I guess. In any case, it's going to be better for helping us modernize, because that's going to be our goal here. Now, not all of our logging camps are using logging. We'll need to figure out how to work that. Let's take a look at the market. You have some very expensive hardwood. And who is purchasing hardwood in our market? Mostly the furniture manufacturers. Are they also purchasing softwood? They are. I think the hardwood the furniture manufacturers are using is being used on luxury furniture, which they're making a ton of. What is the market for luxury furniture, for luxuries like? It's not bad at all, actually. We're a little bit overproducing, but that's okay. That's making our upper classes feel very, very pleased. The one thing we're short on is clothes, so I might grab a few of our textile mills. I've only got half and half capability. Alright, so that's not going to be profitable. So we'll leave them where they are for now. Tooling workshops, we actually are producing iron tools. That's very, very good. We're in a pretty good place economically. Like, we could be better, but we're in a pretty alright place. So, let's produce a little bit more hardwood. Let's see, let's produce a little bit in Yunnan, a little bit in Beijing. And that should help our market moving slowly here. Cash flow has gone down, but we haven't set up our consumption taxes yet, of which we will set up many. The first being services. This is always the most efficient consumption tax, although the temptation of setting up a grain consumption tax is absolutely enormous. It's going to be... Well, no, it's actually not more efficient than, say, opium or liquor or tea. So we'll do opium, liquor, and tea. Alright, that's got us pretty good cash flow. I'm very happy with how that's gone. We've still got some authority to play with. Now, how do I get the literati in the government? I could get the literati in the government. It's not a no options situation. In terms of techs, where are we? We have got mercantilism, which is good. It is very good to not be in isolationism in the early game. We're an autocratic monarchy. We have cultural exclusion, which means we accept a wide variety of peoples. We have freedom of conscience, meaning not everyone has to do... What type of Buddhism are we? Or no, we're Confucian. I'm wrong. I assumed we were Buddhist, but we're Confucian. My understanding... Well, I'm not going to pretend I have a very deep understanding of Eastern religions, but my understanding is that the way it works compared to Western religions is there's not a lot of mutual exclusivity, that there are a lot of people who are practicing from various different traditions, and I don't know that games like Victoria 3 are necessarily set up to capture that, but it is that's a wider scope discussion. Anyway, we're at freedom of conscience. We have appointed bureaucrats. That's a very good place to start. We have peasant levies. That's really bad. We'll need to work on that. No home affairs. It is what it is for the early game. Ditto schools and health system. We don't have any police. That's something we're going to change. Although we get police, that'll give us an institution. And our institutions are quite expensive because we've got a huge amount of core territory. So I might actually not enact police. In fact, I think I won't. That's usually my game plan for the early game, but this time I'm not going to. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to see what I can get away with in the early game. A lot of people like professional army. Armed forces would be happier if we did this. Scholar officials would be a little unhappy, but I think they'll live with it. So maybe that's where we'll go first. Peasant levy is absolutely not something we can live with long term. So I think that's what we'll do, and I think we'll get started straight away with a professional army. It's going to cost us a little more, because I think there's minus 10... Yeah, we got minus 10% military goods cost, which is not that great. This gives greater political strength to officers. There was a person who worked with the statistics and figured out how it goes, but we'll deal with that later. Now, what do we want to be doing in economy? We got 6 construction sectors, all of them constructing wooden buildings. So, I think our basic priority is to get enough iron in our market that we can swap those over to iron frame, or something like that. So what's our iron situation? Our iron situation is about balanced, and each of these buildings is going to take 50 iron. So we need to produce 6 times 50 is 300, and each of our iron mines produces 20 iron. So we're going to need to build 15 levels of iron mines, which is what it is. So where can we start? Let's go with Hebei. We got a little bit of infrastructure here. Beijing, how much infrastructure we got? Not enough. Shanxi, we got plenty of population in Shanxi, so we'll build 7 levels here. Southern Manchuria, we've also got plenty of iron mine capacity. Ooh, Inner Mongolia, we could actually build a couple. And yeah, then we'll do Southern Manchuria. And that'll let us get the iron frame construction that we need. We'll go slow with that. That's also going to take a bunch more tools. Where are we with tools? Tools are a little expensive, but we have the ability to bring them in from other markets. With that having been said, I ideally don't want to do that. Where are we producing tools? Just Beijing. Alright, so over time we'll need to increase the number of tools that we produce, and I think we can do that in Shanxi as well. Let me see, each tooling workshop right now is producing 60 tools, and mines take 5 tools a pop. So if we're building 15 mines, it's going to take 75 tools. So we actually only need to build 2 levels of tooling workshops in order to sustain the mines that we're currently building. We'll build 1 more because we're a little short on tools at present, and that'll be just fine. I'm just going to go ahead and intersperse these. And by intersperse, I mean queue all these to the top, which wasn't the smartest way to do this, but it is what it is. We are not producing the amount of construction I would like to be producing. This hurts, but it is what we'll have to do. The other thing we want to do is we want to produce a lot of universities. Where's my new buildings? Nope. Industry, resources? Not there, that's for sure. Development. University. Let's build up Shanxi. We'll build 2 levels in Shanxi, 2 levels in Hebei. Xinjiang has quite a bit of infrastructure available. Now, what about the central and southern areas? Guangxi, good place to build up some universities. We'll build a couple in eastern and western Guangdong. A couple in Taiwan, Formosa in this time period. And then a couple more in each of these southern and eastern provinces. Oh yeah, we should build some in Shandong as well. So what that'll do is that'll give us a good baseline of innovation. Obviously, that's going to require a lot of paper, but we'll have that shortly. Now, before we unpause, I'm just trying not to queue up too much, too much construction here before I unpause. But I do need to set up my armies. So the last thing I need to do, this is in fact actually the first thing I need to do, is I need to build up my government sectors because I'm short on bureaucracy, and I'm only going to be shorter on bureaucracy as I build things up. Now, all of our provinces basically are short on taxation capacity, so we can kind of build wherever we've got the ability. So I'm going to focus on Western Guangdong, and I'm going to throw these government sectors actually at the top of the queue because they're going to be really useful in the short term. And I'll show you what that means in a second. Let's throw some fellas in armies. Let me see, we got an armed forces aesthete here. You can go in an army. We've got a rural folk woodland combat expert. You can go in an army. We got a brave defensive strategist from the scholar officials. Don't love that he's from the scholar officials, but he's a good soldier. We'll put him in an army. Ninja, Green Standard, Army. Ooh, innovative defensive strategist. Absolutely. You can go in an army and you can get a promotion. Yang Hu, Green Standard Army. We got a pillager, though. Let me see. It's between this pillager and... I don't want to improve the... Well, this guy's quite good. We'll grab him. Having Meticulous and Mountain Combat Expert is pretty good. Not getting a lot of options for interest groups I would like. So I can have this Woodland Imperious fellow. He's at least a moderate. This guy is a traditionalist. Yeah, we'll grab him. This army, so as you can see here, the amount of bureaucracy I'm short of is increasing over time. He's a defensive strategist and charismatic. That's pretty good. Hey, got an armed forces fella. I'm actually going to put him somewhere where I can do more with him. He's a royalist. That's good for now. What about this army? Yeah, we'll grab this pillager here. It's going to take me a long time before I know who's where all the time, but we'll see. Now, got an open terrain commander who's a traditionalist, and this other guy is a moderate. We'll go with the traditionalist for the Sichuan Green Standard Army. And then finally, for the Yungui Green Standard Army, still don't have anyone outside the traditional interest groups. So we'll go with Captain Open Terrain Commander over here. And do we have anyone outside the usual suspects? No, we do not. So the reason I'm doing this early is because I'm going to run into some problems with the British pretty quickly, I suspect. Let's take a look at our last thing before we unpause. This is the Fragile Unity Journal entry. The status of the progress bar will advance or retreat based on certain conditions. The progress bar reaching 0% will lead to a total loss of the central government's control and the seizure of power by despotic local authorities. Despite a period of temporary stability under the Yongzheng and Qianlong empires, China has embarked upon a steady slide towards collapse at the hands of rebellions, mismanagement, and external pressure. If the authority of the central government is sufficiently eroded, local military powers within Great Qing threaten to tear the country apart into petty fiefdoms. Will successfully complete if concluded the Boxer Rebellion successfully, no longer unrecognized, and stamped out monarchism, which means we've created a republic. Because you can't stamp out monarchy until you're not a monarchy anymore. So that's going to be a whole thing. If completed, triggers the event A Century of Triumph. If failed, triggers the event China Shatters. So, what are our advanced retreat conditions? Advanced conditions are winning the Opium Wars, ceasing to be unrecognized, and stamping out monarchism. Retreat conditions are losing the Opium Wars, failing to stop the appearance of the Heavenly Kingdom, failing to retake the Heavenly Kingdom, failing the Boxer Rebellion, going into debt and taking out loans, having a civil war, becoming a subject under another country, or abolishing the monarchy. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. Do we have any other journal entries kicking around? Not as such. We got a bunch here, but we'll deal with those as they go. So, let's unpause. Iraq is improving relations. Very nice. Any other notifications? Disappearing interests in Bengal. Yep. Need more infrastructure in Alxa. Can't do anything about that right now. Siak is improving relations. Very good. Japanese shogunate is rivaling us back. Alright, not a problem. Historical. We should be getting a journal entry any time now. Luang Prabang, improving relations. We have the cotton gin, paddle steamer, and mass communication spreading. Nothing I'm too excited about. Cambodia is improving relations as well. A lot of people are improving relations with us. That's to be expected. We got the urbanized Great Qing journal entry. That's a standard thing. Family ties has been deactivated, but social criticism has also been deactivated. Oh, China's got special army traits for the armed forces. So let's take a look at those. Special traits for the armed forces. The bad one is parochial leadership. Increase morale loss, reduce morale recovery. Alright. Then the good ones are newly created army, reduce military goods cost. That's alright. That'll get more useful as we go on. And self-strengthening, increase military research speed. That's also really, really rock solid. Very pleased about that. The Confucian scholars should have their own stuff. Pious fiction, that's a standard one. Divine right, that's a standard one. Asceticism, reduce radicals from political movements. Do we have any political movements? We have 3. We have an absolutist movement. We have a Qing supremacist movement. And we have a Confucian traditionalist movement. Okay, so a lot of the early game stuff is in attendance. Import route for grain. Alright, that's fine. Haven't gotten our opium event yet, but not excited to be having that event, so we'll continue as we're continuing. As samurai should say. Where's Henan? Here. Plenty of infrastructure and labor available here. I'm going to increase the size of the construction sectors here by 2. Just to get us building a little bit faster. Although I'll finish the government buildings we're currently working on. Or at least the one we're currently working on. Opium crisis. Here we go. So, opium addiction is ravaging Great Qing. Vast numbers of Han people have become opium fiends, causing a wave of crime, poverty, and idleness. Despite the obvious harm, Great Britain continues to flood the market. Every household has a bed-bound opium fiend, every street corner has an opium den, and every port welcomes British merchants pouring a glut of opium down the throats of any who will pay for it. We have to do something, or we cannot risk the ire of Great Britain. So, we have to do something. Adds the opium crisis to the Journal of Great Qing. Great Qing gets widespread opium addiction for 9 years. Minus 50% army power, minus 50% prestige from army power projection. Plus 100% war exhaustion from casualties. Minus 1 standard of living. Plus 1 mortality. 25% rad penalty. Minus 50% offense and defense. And plus 75% morale loss. Wow, that is brutal. Or, we cannot risk the ire of Great Britain. We get that for 19 years. And 5% of pops in Great Qing become more loyal. And the progress bar of fragile unity is depleted by 1. We have to do something. So we're going to have an opium war. Opium crisis. This is a new journal entry. Okay. Vast numbers of our people have become opium fiends. This is a national disgrace that must be addressed urgently. Will complete if the following conditions must be true for a total of 5 years. Can be interrupted. Has taken the ban opium trade decision. Great Qing is at peace. Triggers the event the end of addiction. Will fail if at least one of these. Great Qing has enacted free trade. Any country is one of the powers opposing our efforts, has at least one of these, foreign investment rights, or a treaty port. If failed, triggers event the Opium War's defeat, which leads to the Opium event and depletes the fragile journal entry. Okay, alright, so, you know, it is what it is. So, do I ban the opium trade immediately? I think maybe I don't. I think maybe I wait until I've got line infantry. That might be a mistake. The AI typically does immediately, but I've got a little time. So I'm going to let it go for now. We've got 10 years to do this. I see. So if we don't do it within 10 years, then we get fought by Britain. They force us to do it, and then we keep those penalties for another 10 years. All right. Let's improve relations with France. Can't improve relations with anyone else for now. Hey, France, would you like a something? Defensive pact? I don't have the influence. To the rivalry screen. Dynam. Burma. I'm going to leave Kalsaraj for now. France, my man. Don't want it. I don't have good enough relations. Currently improving relations with Great Britain. Are they damaging relations back with us? Doesn't look like it. We'll see. We'll see how things go down. I'll improve relations with the United States. Do we? No. Not yet. But I'll improve with Prussia. Prussia's a potential rising great power. Could do Netherlands. It was nice to have friends among the Dutch. We'll continue to work on that for now. Bengal interest is deactivated. That's fine. I'd love to increase relations with the British East India Company. Actually, that's more important to increase relations with the British East India Company than it is to increase them with the Netherlands. So we'll do that. In the Dutch East Indies, we'll do it as well, because they're nearby. Okay, lots of things going on. Let's go on. We'll just do the first 3 months of the run for now. We're just building up some more construction sectors and government admin. That's going to help with our finances, which is going to allow us to function better. Law debate failed. Fared poorly in public debates. Burma declared the rivalry back. That's fine. Alright, so professional army is not off to a strong start, but we're doing our best. Did we lose our interest in Rhine? We did. Gosh darn it. Because we lost power projection. Oh, what a pain. What an absolute pain. We'll have to deal with that. We've got a diplomatic play kicking off right here. Dutch East Indies is going after Siak to steal Siak and Assech, which is the entire country. Let me see. Who would potentially side with the Dutch East Indies? No one at the moment except for the Netherlands. I could grab a war goal. Can't get a subject, but I could get a state. Ooh, a lot of these are a lot of... What about a transfer subject war goal? I could get Sambas. Maybe I'll try to get Sambas. Do I really want to go to a war right now? It would be nice to expand my holdings in the Southeastern Territory, but the question is, can I afford it? Well, these types of armies are cheap. What kind of armies does you have? Oh, you got the same type of army that I got. Oh, no, you got line infantry and mobile artillery, and I got a lot of military penalties. I'll leave it for now. I don't want to get into a war straight out the gate. Anyway, that is all we've got time for tonight, my nerds. This is going to be an interesting run. We'll see how things go. We'll see if I can strategically manage things so that I don't get absolutely Robert Borked here straight out the gate. And we'll see what we can do. But yes, that is all we've got time for at the moment. I have had fun. I hope you all have had fun. And I will see you on the other side.